How we doing, everybody? Welcome to the show. My name is Bo.
I'm Jamie, and this is
Adjusting to Life, a chiropractic married couple's take on life, love, business, parenting, all the ups and downs, mess ups, screw ups, funny, sad, happy moments, everything in between.
Yep.
Welcome to the show, Adjusting to Life. How the heck are we going to do all this stuff? How do you do it all? How are you so busy? Hate that word, by the way. Well, I don't hate it. I don't like to use the word hate. Oops.
Oh.
I really dislike the word busy, the way culture is using it, but that's a whole nother topic. But the point is, we get the question all the time, how are you guys going to do that? How are you going to pull that off? You're already so busy with stuff. And that's a great question. And I think the first thing that you and I started doing, and we were actually given this idea a really long time ago when we first started a business called Wine at 9. We don't drink anymore, really, so doesn't have to be wine, but it's when is your time at the end of every single day, whether you work with your spouse, whether you don't, whatever, that you two get to actually sit down, no TV, you're not reading next to each other, you're not on your phone, you're talking to each other for at least, I'd say at least 20 minutes, or more, to really just let your mind unload all the stuff, the things that, I'm going to tell her this later, and you forget. That's happened before.
We're both working on that.
Yeah. But it's just a really good practice to remember what you did for the day, express a little gratitude for things you might have forgot about, but also inform your life partner on what you did in life, because it's not much of a partnership if you don't share the life side of things too.
Or how you feel about what's going on in life.
100%. And so I think for us, the biggest thing we've done is hot in here. Wow, stutter. I'm so nervous in the microphone. We get in the hot tub. Anyway, so we get in the hot tub typically each day. Ironically, I don't love to get in when it's cold outside because then you have to get out and it's really cold.
Is what it is.
But she really likes to go. So one thing I'm trying to do is, even when you don't want to do something, if your spouse wants to do it, just do it, because it's probably going to end up being good, especially when you're doing it for your wife. It's almost always good.
Yeah.
Healthy boundaries, different episode, but we'll get into that later.
You're doing good.
Give an
Thank
example of that. Give one tiny example of what you feel, if you guys feel comfortable, like that, like you said with the hot tub, you don't really like to do, but you're like, you know what, I'm going to do because I know she's going to really like it, and then you're going to say the same thing.
What do I do that I don't really like to do? I think I can always do better, but I believe that this last year I've really tried hard to fold a lot of laundry, and I don't know why. Probably because there's so much with just two little boys. It's insane how much they make, and little clothes are hard to fold. This is probably, now I'm uncovering why I don't like it, but I've been really trying, even if I don't get to put it away, I can make a really nicely folded pile, put it at each person's bedroom, they can put it away, and it just, those little cumulative 5 to 15 minute chores that you can knock out when you do have that little time, instead of walking by it and saying I'll do it later. I feel like that's been my big growth goal this year, is to do those little things in the moment so that you don't have 2 hours of work later.
That's good.
Yeah.
I've appreciated that.
Thanks. Here, let me wink with my good eye.
Oh, there you go. Thanks.
There you go.
Let the camera see it. So I don't even know if this counts, because
Not with that attitude.
Bo really likes to, he does this like sock slide at the end of the day where he just like slides his feet on the ground and takes off his socks. I don't understand.
No hands.
And then he just leaves them there. Like, that's where they belong. It's like their home is just on the ground, wherever your feet slip
Because
them.
the point is that I don't have to bend over, so if I bend over to pick them up, I should just take them out with my hands. It defeats the purpose.
So me trying not to laugh at how silly you are. And so, and I always pick them up, because you don't. But instead of like
It's fair.
thinking negatively about it when I pick up your dirty socks, I just think I'm super happy that I have a husband that decided to be here and take off his socks.
I'm going to leave more things on the ground for you to remember me.
You don't have to take it like that.
I just want you to really think about me like that a lot. And if that means leaving my laundry on the floor,
I'll just admire you.
Imagine if if one little sock, two, if 2 socks make you that happy, imagine what the rest of my clothes make you feel like. It would be heaven on earth for you.
Yeah.
The things I do for you.
We'll work on
Things
how to express
I do.
that a little bit better.
So that was good. So now back on how do you guys then hot tub to connect and discuss the day or the week or plan.
Oh, that was you. I thought it was an animal. So many ants, like Animal Farm around here, but domesticated. Okay, so
well, we switched gears too a little bit with how we spend our time. Like we used to do a lot of walks, and I love taking walks because you're forced to just talk, or else you're sitting there in awkward silence. And
yeah, we had some good, and we did that even in college when we were dating. It'd be 11 o'clock at night, and we'd take the dog for a walk around town. It's been a little more challenging here in this neighborhood. But yeah, walking is an awesome. Anytime we can do that, I always tell people that is how we find. Like some people say, all my good ideas come to me in the shower and in the morning. Like when we're expressing to each other on walks and a little bit I just feel like that's our boardroom, so to speak.
Yeah.
So a little bit more self-care boardroom. I mean, walking's good for you, but the hot tub has been awesome. We're fortunate enough that our house came with one. And so about 2.5 years ago already. And so I feel like when we get in there, it just, maybe it's like the white noise of the jets. And I think kind of that sensory overload with the heat and the motion of everything, like you're kind of like hyper focused to like forget so many things you came in with. Your body's just trying to figure out what the heck's going on all of a sudden. And I feel like it really, for me, settles a lot of things down. And I think the same thing that walking does, because you're focused on the walk, kind of puts you in that like borderline meditative state to focus more. Sometimes kids are in there, which again is fun because I feel like we have a lot of like the most laugh to time ratio. The highest ratio would be in the hot tub. Like something funny always gets said or happens,
in
or
a 10-minute hot tub session.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the point of it is when the kids aren't in there is to sit and say, okay, here's the day, right? Here's our wine at 9 time to unload parts that we didn't necessarily experience together. And even when we do work together, like we rarely talk to each other and usually have to leave and arrive at different times. But that's been super valuable for me to get all of my thoughts out, and for you being the more organizer to take a lot of these things that sometimes I forget to tell you in time and make a plan and make things happen. And I think that we talked about in another episode was the combination, not necessarily completing each other, but together we are now powerful because my skill set can be amplified because of what you can do for it. And then what I can bring to your natural skills gives you the fuel to plan and execute and coordinate, right? And so those things working together, not necessarily mixed, has been really cool. And that time organizes the next day. I think when we make a list, we then wake up with a purpose.
It's kind of like our built-in. We're pretty awful, admittedly, at dating each other, but I feel like those daily dates.
Whoa! Hang on. 2023 has been better.
Yeah, that's true.
Come on, notoriously been.
We are
awful.
working on improving it. I'll just put it that way.
That could be another episode.
But I feel like where a lot of couples have like that once a week or that once a month, whatever, how often it is, and it's usually like you're sitting down at dinner and that's where you get that like focused conversation. I feel like the benefit of us getting to do these smaller little date nights and wine at 9, whatever you want to call it, is we get that like forced like conversation because we're just sitting there with each other, you know? And so I think that however you work it, it works. I would love to have more date nights, but I also think that
our kids are at that magic age almost where we can start leaving them for dinner now.
Oh, that'll be so nice.
Very close. Very close.
I'm excited. But yeah, just getting those daily check-ins however you can, but you have to structure it or schedule it or make it such a consistent routine thing, or else, I mean, it took us a long time to figure out how to just make it work organically too. Like when we got told to do the wine at 9, I mean, there's so many nights where even when we were drinking a little bit, it was like, I don't want to like sit down right now and have this like structured conversation with you. It was
sounds like work.
Yeah. It's like just make it fit however organically it works with you guys, and we're active people, so I think us either being outside in the hot tub or walking just gets our brains going and gets us to connect in that just different level.
Yeah, and I think the things that have come from it now are we now have a schedule where every morning or afternoon one of us is home with these boys, right? So there's very little overlap in the middle of the day where now they can come to work with us for a couple hours, which has allowed us to venture into homeschooling. So we'll do a lesson before, they'll do some self-work during school, or during the gap in between where they're in the little office study room. And now it's allowed us to see that we can change our schedule for the purpose of bettering our family. And we can close for a few days and still see the same people in a week, and the business doesn't suffer because it just schedules around it. When we take care of the things we want, I can now be a baseball coach and say, you can't schedule me Mondays and Wednesdays because those are my work days. You got these days a week, you can do it. I then picked schedules for the tournament for the travel team around the Little League team so that we never have conflicting schedules, right? All these things came about from you and I talking them out together, right? Because I'm never going to have all the parts that I need to do it great without somebody else helping me. I have to have some counsel in almost everything I do. So for you and I to be so consistent, and for that language, I think, to get more fluent, for us to be able to be more vulnerable with the practice of giving opinions and like maybe going against what the other person's saying and not taking it personally and understanding it's coming from love. And that only happens through repetition. And then we talked about in one of the shows too, like we can laugh at something now instead of getting angry about it. And that, again, happens from repetition. And when you communicate more like that intentionally, it's more than just a schedule for the day. It bleeds into so many other facets of your life.
Yeah, and what works in one season isn't going to work in all. Just like your communication style, you know? I think
And
that
outfits.
And outfits.
You can't wear
They don't
shorts in the
always
winter,
work.
right?
No.
Or white pants after 2 days from now, Labor Day. No more white pants. I don't know why. I really don't.
Because it's dirtier outside, you'll just get them dirtier faster.
What if you live in like Phoenix?
You can probably wear white pants all year round.
That seems like unfair.
Well,
Geographical. I'm just gonna leave.
I'll just buy you dark
I'm just gonna
pants.
bail. Dark pants.
How do you guys?
What are we talking about?
How do you guys help each other when you communicate with balancing the kids? Like, do you take on some more sometimes? Do you take on some more sometimes to help balance that? And then how do you manage that so you don't feel that you're doing more? Does that make sense?
Yep.
I think that's where part of the shift in us. When we created new schedules last year, we for the first time created our work schedules based around our family dynamic and how our family dynamic would better operate and how you and I would be better able to handle all of that. And so I think with us having pretty opposite schedules now, it helps to just break up the jobs of being a parent. You know, I mean, there's, yes, I mean, you could on your day off just sit at home and sit on the couch and not do anything and not hang out with your kids or do anything, obviously, but you're not going to do that.
Well, yeah.
We'll have a conversation.
What kind of picture are you painting here?
But the point is if you have that time and you give both parents that opportunity, I think really beautiful relationships can form with both parents and the kids, and splitting the dynamic and the responsibility.
I go back to our second year of marriage, second year. Max was born. We're in chiropractic school. A lot of stuff was going on. Moved across the country, and we had a moment where basically, you ask your spouse, like, hey, do you mind if I go out with the boys? Do you mind if I go out with the girls? Can I go do this with my sisters or for myself? And no, of course not. But deep down, you're like, man, that makes it really difficult for X, Y, and Z reasons. Or anything that makes you not in full agreement with your spouse to, yes, go do that. I'm totally good on board. We had a moment where we were very dysfunctional for a stretch. And I always go back to alcohol for us was always somewhat involved a little bit. But that conversation we had was, look, when I'm asking you if it's okay with you, if I go out, I'm not like trying to ask permission from my wife and be controlled by you. I'm trying to value what you thought today was going to be or whatever you're doing. And if it's out of alignment and makes you feel funny at all, even if you don't know why, just tell the person. Say, actually, that does kind of make me feel weird. Can we talk about this? And be okay with not having the expectation of what she was going to say or he was going to say. You're going in really, truly valuing what they wanted. Therefore, you don't care if it's yes, no, or maybe. And once we kind of started to slowly break those walls down of that people-pleasing skill we both share, I think it was hard sometimes, right? Because expectations are natural for us to have, but I think that was the best thing we ever did was start that process and keep it going, because now if I say, well, I was looking to do this, and you're like, well, we have this and that, I don't sink down into, oh man. I just go into, okay, well, what can we do? What can I do with this? Can I do, nope, can't do that, shift. I might have to move that to a different day, or I can't do that trip, and being okay with remembering what your priorities are. And that's probably why you said no, or that's probably why you said that's not going to work, because it was violating one of our priorities. And so I think when you get to that point of honesty and openness with your spouse, where you can say, actually, that does bother me for whatever reason, and then receive it as the one asking with a heart for the other person, that changed everything. And I think that moment, when you can get to that level, or even start to, it really opens up a new world of marriage that I didn't think was possible.
Which can be really hard, being the one that says no, I think that.
But it's only hard because you're worried about pleasing the other person.
Right.
Because when you know that my intention was for you, it's not hard to answer for yourself. If you're at a restaurant and they say, do you want chicken or beef? You don't care. Like, you say what you want.
Right.
So why are we different with our spouse, right? It's hard with the people we're closest with sometimes. So when you get that to go away, it's unlocked so many things for us that I think even the nonverbal communication now has increased to the point where, like, I don't need to know what's going on. I know, right? Like, good or bad, I know what to do because I've practiced that with repetition with you.
Yeah.
And with an intention of you, not me first.
Right.
Man, that was good.
That's good job.
Somebody write something down from that.
Back for that.
Talking to myself.
You're good.
No, I mean, I should write it down and remember all that. Yeah.
You're good. Now I forgot what I was thinking from my response to
You
that.
distracted by me?
You're so great. That's what it is. No, I think the balance. I mean, you just have to be okay with shifting it too, because what works in one season isn't going to work for all. And especially with kids, and how, again, just to go back to that dynamic of how do you shift who does what? And I think it's just looking truly at what the strengths are in that season. Like us going into this season of busier sports for the first time in our lives, like obviously you're the coach, and so that's going to make that a little bit easier, but like I get to kind of take I get to know that I can assist you in that's not my lead role, right? So I'm going to sit back and just try to see how I can help in that dynamic. So I think being humble too, with knowing your strengths and weaknesses as parents, as spouses, as doing life together, and just knowing when it's your job, when it's your role to take a step back and assist versus, okay, I see this is my opportunity to lead, and don't leave, just stay.
Yeah, don't leave, lead.
But,
It's an important
as
letter.
that, yeah, it's that letter. Yeah, just being open to being humble with who's going to take charge right now in this season. When's it going to change?
All right, guys, if you made it this far, thank you for listening to the show. We really appreciate you. We've got more content and topics coming up. If you have something you'd like to hear about, please let us know, because we'd like to share info on what you actually want to hear.
And if you can like, comment, and subscribe, that would help us out, and share it with other people who you think would love it too.
Have a good day. Remember, progress, not perfection.
There you go.